Hey guys, my name is Maka and welcome to Factoids, the show that keeps you in the know. This episode is all about high octane action and solid mechanics. So this time on Factoids, let's talk about the history of one of my favourite developers, Clover Studio. To truly get the full story of Clover Studio, you should really start with a young Japanese student called Hideki Miyamoto, who, after reading an interview in the Japanese Family Computer magazine that featured Mario and Zelda creator Shigeru Miyamoto, decided that his calling in life would be game design. With this decision having been made, he bought an NEC PC with the intention of learning programming, though he later admitted that much of that time he was actually distracted by the games, which he said would have inspired his work since. These games include the likes of Castlevania, A Link to the Past and Space Harrier. After his graduation from college, he would apply for jobs at Sega and Namco, and while his Sega application was unsuccessful, he would turn down the job offer from Namco due to it being as an artist rather than his preference of a game designer. This led to his eventual appointment by Capcom in 1994, who initially put him on several projects, most notably on the original Resident Evil, wherein he would often plan sections of the game design. Following this, he would be given the opportunity to direct Resident Evil 2, under the recommendation of his colleague and creator of the series, Shinji Mikami. Despite the end result being widely seen as a brilliant game, Kamiya has said himself that during development he made the game a disaster due to a lack of true direction. This would be something that he would aim to improve in his future directing roles. After creating the successful action game Devil May Cry with the subsection of Capcom Production Studio 4, known as Team Little Devils, he started to work with other members of that production studio on a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up called Beautiful Joe. This team, known internally within Capcom aptly enough as Team Beautiful, would make the game as part of the company's Capcom 5 scheme, which aimed to boost the fortunes of the then flagging GameCube system with 5 exclusive games, albeit they didn't always stay exclusive, the most notable of these games being Mikami's Resident Evil 4. Moderately impressed with the performance of the relatively low-budget Beautiful Joe, a game which gained much critical praise for its action-packed gameplay and fun world, Capcom decided to transition much of Team Beautiful, including both Kamiya and the game's producer, Atsushi Inaba, into a semi-autonomous developer. This development studio would be Clover, and their aim? To focus on the creation of new and original IP for Capcom. Despite the aim to create new IP, the first game released under the name Clover Studio would be a continuation of the Beautiful Joe series, set straight after the events of the first game. This time around he is joined by the damsel in distress of the first game, Sylvia, also known throughout this game under the superhero identity Sexy Sylvia. It would be directed by Masaki Yamada, and while Kamiya was not involved directly in the game's development, he did pen the narrative himself, for the sake of continuity. The game would be released first in North America on the 18th of November 2004 and would receive acclaim once again, making a strong start for the now official studio Clover critically, with IGN giving it a 9.0, citing its deep combat and fun nature. Despite much praise for the studio, Beautiful Joe 2 failed to sell enough to satisfy Capcom, and as such they were aiming to garner more sales and attention for the series with a set of spin-off titles known as Red Hot Rumble and Double Trouble, or Scratch if you're Japanese. The first of the two was released for the GameCube, as well as the PSP, and was a party game of sorts, taking much inspiration, or in reality much of just about everything, apart from the characters, from Super Smash Bros. And while it was a decent Smash clone, it just didn't stack up to the real thing, and as such failed to really leave an impression on the industry. Double Trouble would see more favourable reviews and was appreciated for its good use of the DS's dual display and touchscreen, but still failed to save the series or the already wavering fortunes of Clover. Kamiya would direct just one game officially while at Clover. This game is one fondly remembered by many and often perceived to be the pinnacle of their achievements. The game, known as Okami, takes large inspiration from Kamiya's childhood favourite, A Link to the Past, as well as many other Zelda games, and uses that series as a template, creating a game that rivals an actual Zelda game released very close to the original release date of Okami, Twilight Princess. Both games have obvious connections, be it the gameplay, inspirations, or possibly most obviously, the use of a wolf as a main character. Okami was praised for its distinctive depiction of a historic Japan in a stunning cel-shaded style which captivated those who played it, and due to it being accompanied by great gameplay, strong pacing and a good narrative to boot, meant that many of those who got the chance to control Amaterasu still hold it fondly in their memories. The game garnered much praise, gaining almost universal 9s and 10s, but again failed to achieve major success financially. This was a big setback for the studio that was pinning so much hope on the success of this game, and it meant that a lot rode upon the success of their other project set for release later that year. That release was God Hand. The game harkened back to 2D brawlers such as Streets of Rage, but combined them with the 3D action that had been pioneered by Kamiya with his work on the Devil May Cry series. But this time the person in the directing role was the creator of Resident Evil, Shinji Mikami. The player controls Jean, holder of one of the legendary God Hands, incredibly powerful weapons imbued with titanous powers. The game received very mixed reviews and certainly seemed very divisive, with multiple scores over 9 out of 10, and others such as that of IGN being lowly scores at way below the halfway mark. Due partially to this mixed reception and the already niche audience that the game could feasibly aim towards, this game did even worse than every other project that Clover had formerly done, and really spelled the beginning of the end for the studio. Unfortunately, Clover would cease to exist when Capcom closed the studio down in March of 2007. That did not spell the end of the talent at Clover, with most of their talent, including Kamiya, Inaba and Mikami, found in their own independent studio under the name Platinum Games. While Mikami has now left to create Tango Gameworks, the story of both Platinum and Tango are for a very different episode of Factoids altogether, and they continue to make fantastic games. I hope you've really enjoyed this first ever episode of Factoids. Please like this video, share it around and sub to the channel if you did. Also, if you'd like to comment what you thought of any of these games that Clover made, or just like to comment about the video itself, I would be delighted to read your comments and reply to you guys. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.